Mahalo. Now for our next speaker. Everybody loves a story. He's going to tell us a story. Been in Toastmasters a while. Interpret that how you will. A while. And he has gone up partially through the ranks of the Toastmasters manual. Interpret that as you will again, partially. Right now he is on the Pathways path, and he is engaged in the series called Using Humor. This speech is different. Today he's going to do a story, and his goal is to bring an ancient legend to life as a story. Now, usually in stories like Aesop's Fables, there's a moral. In this story, there is a moral too, but it's not so obvious, so let's see if you could find it. And like most Hawaiian legends, it starts out with a personal human story, but then it builds a bridge to the connection of the pantheon of the ancient Hawaiian gods. It's an 8 to 10 minute speech, and the title is Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? Shark Man. Let's welcome.
How's it? And aloha, Toastmasters. This is going to be the legend of Nana Ue, the son of the Shark King. Now, why? You might ask, why did I pick this legend? What is this legend about? And have I heard of this? The reason I really picked this legend out is because I recently saw that there's this Shark King anime figure, animated or in the cartoons, and it also made the Marvel or DC comic movies. Have you seen those movies? Captain America, the Avengers, and all. Well, there's one called Suicide Squad, and Shark King is in there. Now, if it was just Shark King, yeah, but they use the name Nana Ue, and that's what caught my eye. I saw, hey, that's a Hawaiian name. So I looked it up, and they have the name and left the whole legend behind. So I'm going to try to tell this story in a brief encapsulated form to preserve a little bit of the storytelling of ancient Hawaii. So Nana Ue. It starts off on the island of Hawaii, the Big Island. Now on the coast, on the east coast, underneath the water, there's deep caves, underwater caves. And they're the favorite place of Kamoho'ali'i, the Shark King, or the Shark God. So Kamoho'ali'i, Ali'i being chief, Kamoho'ali'i is cruising around all these different underwater, it's all those lava tubes. Now, on the island of Hawaii, there's Waipio Valley. Now, Waipio Valley was it's still very, very big. It has waterfalls that come down, and it created a large pool. And there's still somewhat of that large pool there, but something has kind of caved it. It's not what it used to be. But back then, it was a giant, large pool that mixed with the ocean water. So it was kind of a brackish water thing. And the shark would go up there. The Shark King would swim around in that valley, in that pool, that giant kind of area. And who else was there was a beautiful young lady, Kale. Now, Kale was pretty athletic. She was a diver. She was a swimmer. She would do those dives where you go in and leave no splash. And she also loved opihi. So she would go over and pick opihi in there, and she lived with her brothers and her family there in Waipio Valley. And one time, she goes over to pick opihi, And there's these large waves. All of a sudden, she's trying to skip and jump out of the way of the waves, and she kind of falls in, and all of a sudden, there's this handsome man who saves her from the ocean wave. It was Kamoho'ali'i, because he's a very transcendent type of individual. He has a dual nature, and he can shapeshift into a human being or shapeshift into anything. And also, basically, he's the shark god. So all of a sudden, she's face to face with this handsome man who rescued her. And they get to know each other, because obviously he's nice and charming all of a sudden. And they see each other more and more, and they get married, and she's with child. No, this is the part where Kamoho'ali'i says, I gotta go. I know this sounds typical, but he's like, I gotta leave. But before I go, and the child is born, let me tell you something, because he's got a transcendent dual nature. And you must not feed him any animal meat whatsoever. And so she promises, the child is born, and the first thing they notice is he's got another mouth, not just a regular mouth, but a mouth on his back. It's a shark mouth, the full, not just a tattoo, a full shark mouth with teeth that go chomp chomp on his back. And she's going, oh no. And in Waipio Valley, he tends the plantation. Well, then they have a garden of taro. So they have a kalo, growing taro. And they grow up, and he goes, they would go swimming, and he wouldn't go swimming. They would go fishing, and he wouldn't go fishing. He's always in the taro patch. And people started to go missing. You know, there's this, I don't know, someone's gone, and all of a sudden someone else is gone, and they figured out something's not right. And they would go up, and there's this guy's son of Shark King is Na'au'e. There's his name. So this is the son. And because he had a shark mouth at his back, his mother had him wear a tapa kihe, which is kind of a cape. It says a tapa kihe, to cover his shark mouth. Now, he wouldn't go swimming. He wouldn't take off the kihe. And that, if you want to know when this happened, it was in the time of Chief Umi of the Big Island. He was king of the Big Island. And he ordered everyone to go work on his plantation. I'm talking the families, young and, pretty much young and old, everybody. So they all go work on the plantation. Na'au'e doesn't. So the king goes and rouses him up. He's like, hey, this guy might make a good warrior. Why aren't you working on my plantation? And he's big, and he grew up big and strong because his grandfather, unbeknownst to his mother, was feeding him meat, dog and pork and all this stuff. So all of a sudden, his appetite was starting to grow, thus the missing people. He would go up to people as they were walking to the beach and go, where are you going? So, oh, I'm going to go fishing. Are you now? Make sure you take care or you might go missing head and tail. Someone else, where are you going? I'm going fishing. Make sure you take care, you might go missing head and tail. And he kept doing that. So people were getting a little suspicious of this Na'au'e. The king is saying, well, just go into the plantation. So when they're working in the plantation, the other boys, right, are saying, oh, they're making fun of the guy with the tapa kihe on his back. So they were playing around, and they grabbed him and took it and ripped it off his back, and there was the gaping shark mouth. And he was so furious, the shark mouth went click, click, click with the teeth. He's so furious, he kind of bit a few people. they all chased him out because they're going, oh my gosh, look at this. And so they were going to try to bind him up and make a big bonfire and burn him. So he went all the way to the shore, running away for his life. He gets to the shore, and as soon as the people get to the shore, there's like, he jumps into the water and changes into a shark and swims away. Now the Shark King comes back, Kamoho'ali'i, I gotta get that right, Kamoho'ali'i, comes back and says, look, I'm sorry about that. If it wasn't for the grandfather feeding him meat, I'd had him killed already. But instead he has his shark officers banish him from the island of Hawaii. So where does he go? He goes to Maui. And he goes to shore, turns into a man. He's like, hey, they find out people start going missing. So they get him, burn him. So they go and they try to get him. He gets out of it and he goes flying away. And then he goes to Molokai on the Apua of Kainalu. And he pretty much does basically the same thing. People are starting to go missing, and they're starting to go, hey, whenever people start to get shark attacks and go missing, this guy's not, he shows up afterwards. I was just picking opihi over here. So they figured it out. The kahuna says, okay, catch him in the act, and then tear off his kihei. So he asks somebody, hey, where you going? You going fishing? Be careful not to go missing, head and tail. And they pull off his kihei, and there's a shark mouth, so they go grab him again. But in this case, the younger god, Una, it was a mountain god of Molokai, came to try to help. So they're all trying to help. They grabbed him, they wrap him up, and he's about to go be burnt in the fire. But they basically cut him up with bamboo, and they make basically shark jerky out of him and all this kind of stuff. And so he ends in Molokai. So there's the legend of Molokai. And if you go back in the day, and to this day, you'll see the burn in the rock where the rope was tied to haul him up, and the divot when they dragged him from the beach. So there it was, Nane Ue, son of the shark god. That's his story. And I don't know what moral there is, but maybe you can find one. Thank you.
Oh, that was such a captivating story. And I hope we hear more stories from you in the future. All right, everyone. What a meeting this has been. And that reminded me, I know that one time someone told me that their grandma had a pet shark, and she would go to the ocean every so often, and the shark would come up to her and she'd feed it. I don't know if that's true, but I remember hearing that story.